Shutdown. I want to bring in from California, joining me now, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, who serves on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, I want to first get your reaction that the president has decided to reopen the government. Is this a time for a victory lap for Democrats?
No, it's time to open up government, make sure people who are working finally get paid after 35 days of doing so without, and contractors connected to the federal government can get their contracts back in order. And of course, continue to have conversations about what best protects our southern border. But no, this is just time to move forward.
There are words that the president said that I have not heard him say before when he talks about that wall. Smart wall, drone, see-through visibility, drug detection technology. What do you make of his wording today when he talks about border security?
Well, we're going to have border security, and we're going to increase the number of agents. We're going to increase what we do at the ports of entry where drugs are able to get through. 90% of the drugs that come to our country go through the ports of entry. We're going to increase technology, whether it's through cameras or drones. And where barriers are needed, yes, we will put them up in place. But you're not going to see the contiguous sea to shining sea wall that the president wants. That's not effective, and it's also not the right symbol for America.
You know, the president says that after 3 weeks, he's willing to shut down the government again. Would you be willing to negotiate a deal that would include funding for his wall?
No, and I don't like that after saying he was going to reopen government, he went back to that same position. It's almost as if he hasn't learned the lesson in the pain of the last 35 days. But I believe that the public sentiment and the stories we've heard of what this has meant to workers, has really, I think, put pressure on the Senate Republicans, and that's why the president is doing this. I can't imagine, I hope that's not the case, that we would be in the same position in just a few short weeks.
Do you think it's likely we will be in the same position in 3 weeks?
Well, it's ridiculous that we are even in this position now, that we can't do a long-term funding of the government, that this president isn't able to govern us beyond just the next few weeks. But I believe this is kind of the off-ramp the president needed, and the sentiment of the country has never used the government, never used shutting down the government as a way to get around the legislative process.
Congressman, I want to move on and ask you about Roger Stone being charged in the Russia investigation. When you look at his indictment, what stands out most to you?
When you read Roger Stone's indictment, what leaps off the page is the fact that a senior Trump campaign official was in contact with Roger Stone about obtaining the Russian-hacked Hillary Clinton emails that would help Donald Trump. Now, where I come from, the only person that could order a senior official in any organization would be someone who is more senior than that official. So you now see evidence that at the very top of the Trump campaign, there was an intense effort to get the Russian-hacked emails that were hacked to hurt the Clinton campaign.
He's made it clear he will plead not guilty and, in his words, not bear false witness against the president. When you hear that, what's your reaction to his reaction?
Well, it's time to come clean, Mr. Stone, and most of the witnesses who have pled guilty have done so, with the exception of Mr. Manafort. Rick Gates is a cooperator. Michael Flynn is a cooperator. Michael Cohen is a cooperator, and they're going to serve less time in jail because they did so.
The White House doesn't appear to be concerned based on their statements today. Should they be?
They should be very concerned. You're seeing the president's longtime friend for decades, Roger Stone, now indicted. You're seeing Paul Manafort, his campaign chairperson, Michael Cohen, his lawyer, his national security advisor. It's just hard to imagine that so many people at such high levels, so close to Donald Trump, were able to pull off these efforts to try and work with the Russians or to lie and cover it up, and Donald Trump didn't know about it.
You sit on the Intelligence Committee's Russia investigation looking into this. What do you want to know? What are the missing pieces you want filled in?
I want to know on the Intelligence Committee, I want to know what we can best do going forward to prevent another attack from happening. The way you do that is to understand fully what the Russians did in the last campaign. We weren't able to do that because the Republicans wouldn't allow us to subpoena witnesses and documents. We are able to do that now, but we should make sure the American people know this is always about going forward, making sure that they don't do this again by closing vulnerabilities and making sure the government responds in a better way when an attack like this comes.
Is there anyone you want to subpoena?
Well, I'll leave it to Mr. Schiff to sign the subpoenas, but I know that he has talked about adding into our inquiry a money laundering piece to this, something we weren't able to pursue last time, but there is a lot of evidence that Russian money was flowing into the Trump organization. If you just listen to the words of Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, they both boasted about that. And then the Trump bank, Deutsche Bank, in 2017 was fined over $300 million for a $10 billion Russian money laundering scheme. So you can link the Trump organization and money coming in, and the lender that was being used is having ties to Russian money laundering, and I think you have reason to look.
Do you want Roger Stone to come back and testify?
I'll leave that to Mr. Schiff. I'll just say this: he's lied, and now he's been charged with lying in the Mueller campaign or the Mueller investigation. They're going to, I imagine, put the screws to him and see if he wants to be a cooperator. But I'll leave that to Mr. Schiff.
We know Michael Cohen was subpoenaed by the Senate Intelligence Committee this week. He postponed his testimony before the House Oversight Committee alleging threats against him. Is your committee considering compelling Cohen to testify?
We would like to hear from Mr. Cohen, and Mr. Schiff, again, I know is doing all he can to make sure that happens. And what's important about this testimony is that we not allow a bully to intimidate a witness. Mr. Cohen's already done the hard part. He's broken away from the Trump organization. He's come clean. And so now we just need him to get across the finish line, be protected if there are threats against him, but show the courage that he showed when he broke away and tell the American people what happened. And he should also not underestimate what his courage could do for other people who continue to lie right now and protect the president, who may know that's not the right thing to do and may also want to come forward and assist in the investigation.
Congressman, before I let you go, I hear that you are hiring in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Are you running?
Yes, send us your resumes. I am considering it, and I am going to be back in Iowa this weekend. I believe that the promise of our country is if you work hard, you do better for yourself and dream bigger for your kids. That's something my parents chase, but I don't see it being fulfilled on every block and on every floor of every building. So I want to make sure that we have new energy, new ideas, and a new confidence in America, and I'm going to make a decision about how I can help make sure that happens very soon.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, thank you very much, Congressman.